Hi, everybody, and welcome to the third installment of my interview with PV Kannan, 24/7.ai CEO and customer service visionary. So hopefully you found the pearls of wisdom that we've been extracting from PV valuable over the last few weeks. So PV, great to have you on board again. So welcome.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for having me.
So just to recap, this is a third installment. For those that haven't seen episodes 1 or 2, they should be available in the comments below. But just a quick recap. So first of all, we spoke about the changes associated with COVID and how that has affected both clients, customers, and agents. And then the last episode was definitely around the shift towards digital, some of these digital channels. And how some great insights from PV and some of the 24/7.ai clients around significant channel shift, seeing digital explode from 1 in 10 contacts to almost 7 in 10 for some customers. So a real huge shift. Today's installment is definitely more focused on automation. It's definitely focused around the role of conversational AI. Friendly technologies that are playing with conversational AI, and we'll touch upon RPA as an example, but also how the role of people and technology working together is going to be the real difference between success and failure. So thinking about the role of automation, what's your view on how you see the collision, I guess, of technology, automation, and customer service? What is that collision going to look like over the next few years, PV?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First is we have to think through the psychology of how automation is rolled out. I think when we hear the words AI and natural language processing and bots, people get enamored by the technology, right? And then they go start playing with it, and then they roll something out without really thinking about how do consumers perceive it? What value do they get from interacting with a bot? A good example is, in UK, most brands have got a bot on the website, right? But most of them are dead ends, right? So, it'll either go into a loop where it'll repeat the same thing over and over again, even though you're saying, I'm trying to do this, and it'll say, no, I'm sorry, I don't understand it. What do you mean by that, right? Or something similar, and give no way for it to be transferred to a human agent, right? So, first, don't do automation like that. Kill those bots. You may think, and typically those bots are measured on usage. That's a terrible metric for something where you have no feedback whether the problem got resolved or not, right? And customers are notorious for never answering the question, did this satisfy your question or whatever, right? So, the first recommendation is, if you're going to roll out automation, be very respectful of the customer's time, and then do it in a thoughtful way. And the aim you should have is, every company has a group of agents who they think are like super agents, right? These are people you would put your mom onto if there is a problem, because they'll be considerate, they'll solve the problem, they'll not take too much of your time, and you'll walk away feeling actually good, even though you actually went into a problem, right? So your holy grail of design for any automation system should be that agent, right? If you are unable to deliver that, then all you're doing is you're just going to frustrate the consumer, right? And what that means, what does it mean to have that super agent be your bot? It means quickly understanding things and getting it. Like, a difference between an agent who's been in the job for 1 week and one that has done it for 5 years is, everything, right? Pretty quickly, when you hear what the customer is saying, you're already taking steps to solve it, right? Because you've heard that 1,000 times or 10,000 times, and that expertise is what a bot can actually provide, right? Because the basis for a bot to learn has to be from the best human conversations, right? So the way we go about it is to actually start with the super agent group, their best conversations, which have been rated 5 out of 5, gotten great internal QA grading, and then you take that corpus and go, this is what a great looks like. Now let's go about designing it, but now let's introduce things like making it visual. right? Things like, making it easy. Don't ask too many questions, because the bot can do so many things in the background so fast that an agent cannot do. Sometimes, agents will ask you something they already know, because it's going to take them more time to go dig into a system and find it. So they find it more convenient to say, hey, do you have the black color or the red color? Rather than going into 3 systems and figuring it out. But for a bot, that's not a difficult thing, right? Then bots can do things in parallel. And in our last conversation, we talk about robotic process automation and things like that. So you can leverage multiple things in parallel to handle the customer. So, but the key thing is to, design it in a way where the customer feels, this thing is actually more efficient and more effective than dealing with the actual human super agent, right? And that's what, well-designed bots, we always find their, CSAT, NPS, the kind of verbal commentary you get, it's all about the efficiency, the speed, and the fact that it was very accurate and quick. And we often see the words in the feedback, it was quick, easy, love it, right? And that's what you want out of it.
So there's a couple of points I really want to dig into there. Absolutely makes sense. Why wouldn't you clone your best agent?
Right.
How many times have we said, I really wish we could have more of X? Well, I guess with conversational AI in the contact center, you absolutely can. So let's figure out what they do best, and let's replicate them. Let's replicate their way of dealing with a customer as closely as possible.
Yep.
Thinking about that replication, I guess a lot of it comes into design and how you design these amazing conversations. I guess the question I kind of have is, like, who does that? Like, how do you design these conversations, and who is involved? Is it the super agent or is it somebody else? And where do you find these people in your organization?
Yeah, I think, failed screenplay writers. I'm just saying that in jest, but seriously, you're right. The super agents are actually involved in designing the conversations, because they are used to interacting with people and they know what words cause confusion, right? So the biggest reasons bots fail is they're designed as if another bot is going to talk to this bot, right? It's very mechanical. It lacks warmth. It lacks simplicity, right? It's, most often designed by someone who's going to implement it using the AI tools. So they don't have the context of how naturally 2 human beings talk to each other, right? So, definitely involve the super agents, have people who are trained in, conversation design, whether they've done screenplay writing, whether they have written, commercials, find people who have that passion for communicating in a very simple manner, and then, put it out. And then there's a lot of testing you need to do, because one of the things when you roll out this conversational automation is, when does the conversation stop from the consumer standpoint, where they find it's just a waste of time, right? Consumers are very good at stopping when things don't make sense, right? So it's that continuous monitoring to go, okay, how many turns have I successfully navigated where the customer is engaged? And where do they just disappear, right? And with bots, you're not going to get any feedback. Some customers may, express their frustration. When they do, the trick is to get a real human agent to come in, who's actually taken the time to quickly scan what the conversation was all about. So what our system does is it gives the intent and all the data points to the agent, so they don't have to ask that. But at a quick glance, they know, oh, the customer is trying to replace a broken phone, right? And this is the phone details, here's the account detail. Then the agent can just step in and say, hey, I see you're having issues with your phone. Let's go ahead and deal with it, right? So that human backup should be very effective. And then there's this constant learning. And the third element we touched upon in our previous conversation is, then how does this agent correct what went wrong, so that the next attempt by the bot is much more effective? And if you don't have that optimization process built in on almost a daily discipline of doing this, which is no different than running a call center, right? Because there also you're listening to conversations, you're coaching newer agents, even for experienced agents, you're correcting them on some policy change that has happened, which they might have forgotten about, right? So those things are natural and it's ingrained in operation. When it moves to technology, unfortunately, that's where having a company that does both helps, right? So when we thought about, hey, a conversation with the bot, we treat it like a super agent and do the same things, observe it, yesterday the agent was great. Today, is the agent great, right? Is there some, knowledge gap? Is there some new knowledge that needs to be added? That has to be there. And most often what you find in these bot implementations is that's kind of left off, right? And it'll be touched after 6 months or 9 months. And then, by then your consumers have given the bot a fair shake and kind of said, this doesn't work. They'll not try it again. It's not like, they go back to the same bot and then go, this time I'm going to count on the experience being better, right? So, if you have a bot implementation that's not done well, admit it, rebrand it, go back again, and start with a smaller group of consumers, test it, do user focus groups, and then roll it out.
So I guess, so many valid points there. Two things I really kind of want to pick up on. The first one, obviously, is technology is important, but design just been so important. Getting the design right. And then once you've got the design right, optimization, ongoing optimization is key. There is no standing still in most automations, really, because the business changes, your products change, consumers change. And so ongoing optimization is absolutely critical. And if I think about one of the challenges that I had at O2 when we first deployed our virtual agent, I think it was about 2014, 2015, one of the things we didn't do very well was we didn't complete this ongoing optimization. And I guess it probably didn't even really have a home. So there was no one whose real responsibility was the virtual agent and its success. And so, it kind of died a death a bit. So I'm really, really passionate, not just about the design of the conversation, but this ongoing optimization. And thinking about the home, certainly one of the things that we didn't have back then was a center of excellence. The concept of a center of excellence now has really come to the fore through the use of RPA. A part of the business that owns, governs, and is really responsible for the successfulness of, in this instance, it might be your RPA automations, but just as easily, it could be your conversational AI, your chatbot, your virtual agent, etc. And I think that COE concept is going to be really, really important. Now, clearly, for organizations that have embarked on an automation journey that has started with RPA, the skills that you have are going to be relevant to some degree, but you're not often going to find a great developer who is fantastic at automating a finance process is going to be the creme de la creme when it comes to designing a conversational flow. So same concept, slightly different skills in places. And I think that's something that we really need to start thinking about. And I'm starting to see a lot of traction with organizations that are bringing multiple technologies together in their COE, slightly different skill sets, different stakeholders, but that foundational layer that you've got really important. It's one of the other things I've really started to see more recently as well is the ecosystem of friendly technologies growing. So organizations really latching onto the fact that they are not the panacea for everything in an organization, and so partnering. I've seen a large number of vendors start to partner with other vendors, which I think is really interesting. Thinking about ecosystems, PV, talk to us a little bit about those that you're playing friendly with at the moment. Who are you working with at present?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, there's a good amount of collaboration between companies in the conversational AI space and the RPA space, right? And the RPA space is much broader than just conversational AI, right? So that's why, you could be automating, insurance claims in the back end. And one of the application is, how do you help a bot or a human agent to get the task done more efficiently, right? So, we work with companies like Blue Prism and, Automation Anywhere and so on and so forth. What is interesting is when RPA companies go into large companies, typically they don't think about contact center as the first application, right? So they go after, the higher paid white collar worker, right, inside companies and see how do we make them more productive. Because if someone is paid $200,000 a year, and if you can make them productive by 20%, that's a big efficiency gain that you're delivering, right? because there are unfortunately a lot of high-paying jobs where you're doing, collating data, pulling all of this together, cleansing, and then, and those shouldn't be done with people who have those kind of skill sets, right? So I think it's only, I would say, in the last year, RPA companies have, kind of taken a more serious look and said, hey, the call center area could be a, very good application. And so, we're collaborating with folks on how do we get agents things they need without having to go to 10 systems and then do some reasoning and go, yeah, I can give this customer a refund or whatever, right? RPA can do that task, and it makes it a lot more smoother for the consumers as well, because they get what they need faster. And for the bot, it's a no-brainer that RPA can do multiple tasks for the bot, and the bots can leverage that while they're conversing with the customer, right?
Yeah, I think the future now, if we think about it, we've been stripping out some of the simpler queries, through self-service and through other means for years. Conversational AI and automation is just going to supercharge that, and it's going to leave a lot of the complexity with the agents. I think we really need to be thinking about the role of the agent, the role of technology to support the agent. I think is going to be critically important. And I think we then need to start seeing that the contact center and the evolution of the contact center it's really going to be quite a nuanced department. It's going to be something that is highly complex, that is going to require a lot of problem solving, more so than what you get at the moment, because there's a lot of repetition and a lot of similarity. The real winners in the contact center are going to be those that are, able to solve problems, that have a great deal of knowledge and are able to solve problems. So there's going to be a real evolution of the contact center, I think, as a result of the continued use of more and more technologies. Right, we have absolutely reached the end of today's third installment. Again, PV, absolutely amazing insights, and so great to have, the conversations with you to date. This is the last of our one-on-one interviews. Actually, we now move to live Q&A. So it would be fantastic if you haven't already. If you've got questions, queries, points of view, we would absolutely love to hear them. Please comment on the videos, reach out, and we'll be doing a live Q&A, and we would love to answer as many of your questions as possible. And get you guys involved. So thank you, PV, once again.
Great, thanks so much, Wayne.
Amazing to have you on the show, and really look forward to our live show coming shortly. So thank you.